People usually go to museums to learn, appreciate beauty, and celebrate history, but these 10 museums are likely to cause goosebumps and vivid nightmares. They are all filled with items that could be props in the scariest horror movie, except that they are all real, not make-believe. Before you visit any of these 10 worldwide locations, put your brave face on and think positive thoughts. Here are the 10 world's most frightening museums. Museum of Death. In Los Angeles, California. Well, this museum is about all things related to death. Anything from serial killers, funeral home, cannibalism, execution methods, etc. etc. It's pretty fascinating. There's a lot of explicit footages, images, and displays, art from serial killers, clothing from the dead cult members of the infamous Heaven's Gate, and coffins galore, among other things, but they are all shown in a very educational setting and tasteful manner. I was disturbed by some images and stories, but really, that's what death is. Glore Psychiatric Museum. In St. Joseph, Missouri. Not going to lie, the proliferation of uncannily lifelike but not quite mannequins here would be enough to set the creep-out factor pretty high. But that's not the only alluring component for thrill-seekers. The museum was originally housed in a former state lunatic asylum in Missouri, which was repurposed in the 1950s as a state prison. The museum is now located in a building just outside the gates. Visitors can find life-size replicas of antiquated mental health treatment equipment and the archaic methods used to subdue patients. Perhaps the most chilling part is coming to terms with the fact that such horrors were perpetrated by other humans, not fantastical demons or ghosts. Musée Dupuytren. In Paris, France. An extremely odd and creepy museum found in Paris is filled with real-life examples of medical abnormalities. The Musée Dupuytren was opened in 1835 by a celebrated Parisian anatomist and surgeon who collected diseased and malformed fetuses, skeletons, and human organs. This ghastly collection, which contains 6,000 items, includes liquid-filled jars containing deformed human body parts, conjoined twins, and babies that were born with exposed internal organs. There are wax models of human heads with bizarre cysts, hair lips, and frighteningly indefinable birth defects. Of course, there are more glass jars filled with floating brains of aphasic patients, nicely preserved in alcohol. This museum, both shocking and disturbing, will certainly affect even the most callous visitor. Salem Witch Museum. In Salem, Massachusetts. Say Salem anywhere in the U.S. and images are conjured of colonial-era woman on trial for alleged misdeeds. Perhaps lines from your high school reading of The Crucible flash in your mind. While evidence is yet to surface that any accused women in the late 1600s actually did fly, curse others, or conjure invisible specters, the hysteria and ultimate tragedy of the Salem witch trials continues to fascinate. This Salem, Massachusetts, institution allows visitors to see original trial documents and follow the nation's perception of witches from back in Goody Proctor's day up until now. The Vent Haven Ventriloquist Museum. In Fort Mitchell, Kentucky, USA. Ventriloquist dummies may seem kitsch and antiquated, taking us back to the days of old vaudeville acts and carnivals, but take a closer look, they're extremely frightening. The fact that they appear to take on a life and personality of their own is obviously a well-practiced trick, but there is an eeriness about these mini-humans. They tell jokes, roll their eyes, and appear to have their own minds. Suspend your disbelief and they could be capable of evil intent. If one dummy is scary, imagine a whole collection of them, over 700 to be exact, all sitting in chairs and staring at you with vacant eyes. The Vent Haven Ventriloquist Museum, located in Kentucky, is the world's only museum that focuses on ventriloquism. Here you will find row upon row of carved wooden dummies, their features prominent and well-etched in order to be visible from the back row of a theater. Their unrelenting eyes will follow you throughout the museum, as if trying to hypnotize you into taking on the role of their master. Stay calm and try not to run screaming. Mutter Museum in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Are you ready to be disturbingly informed? The Mutter Museum's website asks visitors from the get-go. The infamous Center for Medical Oddities and Mysteries proclaims to help the public appreciate the mysteries and beauty of the human body while understanding the history of diagnosis and the treatment of disease. So it's a little spooky, but educationally spooky. Don't miss their Hierarchical Skull Collection, 129 human skulls the organization obtained from a Viennese, originally collected to study the variety of Caucasian cranial anatomy. If you can't make the trip, Kristen O'Keefe-Aptowitz's Dr. Mutter's Marvels explores the life of the Philadelphian plastic surgeon that bears the same name as the museum, the Medieval Torture Museum, in San Gimignano, Italy. Are you curious about finding out why the Middle Ages are also called the Dark Ages? Ready to explore the sadistic side of humanity and see how truly brutal people can be under the guise of justice or punishment? Visit the Medieval Torture Museum in San Gimignano, Italy and explore this collection of over 100 horrifying, pain-inflicting devices of pure sadism. Located in the dungeon of the 13th century Devil's Tower, you can almost hear the tortured moans of ancient souls as you wind through narrow corridors and gaze upon a once working guillotine, a fiendish rack used to stretch and pull victims apart, a savage Spanish spider used to tear an adulterous wife's breasts from her body, and a heretic's fork made with razor-sharpened spikes that were placed under the chin of a victim to keep him from falling asleep. See the truly terrifying Maiden of Nuremberg, a coffin-like device with a swinging door lined with barbarous blades that would impale a victim inside by ruthlessly opening and closing that very door. This museum not only shows the true darkness of the Dark Ages, but also explores the bottomless pit of blackness in some human souls, the Catacombs of the Capuchins. In Palermo, Italy. One of the most morbid and eerie burial sites can be found in Palermo, Italy beneath the monastery's original 16th century cemetery. The Catacombs of the Capuchins are essentially a collection of more than 8,000 mummified bodies of people who died between the 17th and 19th centuries. The bodies are on display, lining the walls in underground maze-like chambers, silently perched in a creepy tribute to the lies that they once lived so many centuries ago. Dusty and grey, they are dressed in the finest clothes possessed in their lifetimes. Many left instructions in their wills to have those clothes changed at certain times, which is quite a frightening idea in itself. These mummies hang with gaping mouths and empty eye sockets that seem to taunt the visitors of these dimly lit catacombs. Divided in death by class and status, as they likely were in life, men are held separately from women and children, while priests, monks, professors, and even virgins have their own sections. The hair on your arms will stand alert as you weave your way through this formidable tomb. The Edgar Allan Poe Museum in Richmond, Virginia. Quoth the Raven, the most badass place to learn about this master of scary stories, the Cask of Amontillado, anyone? Is the museum bearing his name? While no telltale hearts thump beneath the floorboards, the institution is a thorough testament to Poe's legacy, with original letters, manuscripts and minutiae from the writer's life, and a stark reminder that mere words on a page can leave generations spooked. Museum of the Mummies in Guanajuato, Mexico. An extremely strange and haunting museum can be found in the town of Guanajuato, Mexico. 111 bodies of mummified men, women, and children are on display, many with gaping mouths shaped in eternal screams from having been buried alive. These bodies had originally been put to rest during a cholera outbreak in the region in 1833. They were gradually dug up from their final resting places between 1865 and 1958 because their surviving relatives were unable or unwilling to pay taxes to keep them interred. The Museum of the Mummies evolved because tourists would pay cemetery workers a few pesos to view the preserved bodies, which were kept in a building at the graveyard. While viewing this macabre collection, you can see the smallest mummy in the world, a fetus of a pregnant woman who fell victim to the cholera plague. Other mummies are chillingly wearing the exact clothes that they were buried in, while some are naked or merely wearing shoes with socks. The morbidity of seeing this life after death collection may work itself into your worst